So Nigeria's Sovereign Investment Authority, or the NSIA, is due to fund the Solar Power Naija initiative of the government with 10 billion naira as part of the plans to connect 5 million households. Powering the Nigeria's vulnerable communities in the hinterland has been the key focus of the Rural Electrification Agency, headed by the Managing Director and CEO, AHMAD SALIHIJO. And he joins me now live from our Abuja studios. A very good evening to you, sir. Thanks for coming through on the program tonight. Let's talk about the Solar Power Naija initiative, which is a key component of the Buhari's administration economic sustainability program. Of course, it's coordinated at the Office of the Vice President. What is the progress report on this component of the ESP?
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure being here today. There has been tremendous progress, as you have mentioned, within the Solar Power Naija program. We have been able to, first and foremost, roll out 100,000 systems on the way for the guarantee that we had from the Niger Delta Power Holding Company of about 7 billion. That's done with in partnership with the private sector. In addition to that, we have just also signed an MOU not too long ago with the NNPC. But the latest news is that we have also have a board approval from NSIA for 10 billion naira for over 200,000 solar home system connections. So the good thing is that these are all private sector driven programs as part of the economic sustainability plan led by the federal government of Nigeria.
Well, after the last meeting of the Economic Sustainability Committee earlier this month, the NSIA said will be funding part of that program. It said it's 200,000. How much is involved, and what will it help you to achieve really with this particular fund? 10 billion naira is a whole lot of money.
Yes. So with that, as you have mentioned, we had to achieve over 200,000 connections. And the way the transaction has been designed is that they are partnering with the REA under the supervision of the Federal Ministry of Power, where we are going to continue to engage developers through the Nigeria Electrification Project, which is currently a program being funded by the World Bank and the African Development Bank, where private developers get subsidies and grants of up to 60% to be able to deliver solar home systems. So what the NSIA has done is that it's coming in with additional funding to support those private sector companies to be able to deliver solar home systems to our rural dwellers. So a very good example, as I mentioned earlier, is the one we have done with the Niger Delta Power Holding Company in Jigawa State, in Jangefe, which was actually commissioned by His Excellency, the Vice President, with the Honorable Ministers of Power.
Okay, tell me more about the REA, your agency of which you are the Chief Executive Officer. Apart from the Niger Delta Holding Company, how much more have you done in bringing electricity power to people at the grassroots, and what is the experience on the ground from those Nigerians who have benefited from this household solar power electrification program?
So what we have tried to do, as you have mentioned, is to roll out rural electrification to one community at a time in the country. So with that, we have a database of where we feel or where there are non-electrified Nigerians in the country, and we go about electrifying those Nigerians in various means. Within our capital budget, we have provisions from the National Assembly that we do run those programs with. We use various technologies from the grid extension to solar home systems to solar mini grids as well. But what we find is that because of the funding gap that we have, it's very, very imperative that we bring in private sector participation. This is why we have the Nigerian Electrification Project, which is a program that has $550 million US dollars, which is being given as grants and subsidies to private sector companies. In addition to that, we also electrify schools, we universities, healthcare centers, as we have done during the COVID pandemic. So in essence, we are facilitators of bringing electricity to every community in the country, one at a time, as our slogan proudly says.
But how realistic is this 5 million household connections target under the solar power connections?
It's very, very realistic, but we do appreciate that government alone will not be able to do it. This is why, we keep on bringing in other stakeholders like the Central Bank of Nigeria, like the NNPC, as I've mentioned, the NSIA, the Niger Delta Power Holding Company. So we believe it's achievable, but we need all hands on deck, especially by continuing to encourage the private sector. With the CBN, for instance, there's 140 billion naira available at low interest rates between 5 to 9%, where we look to see how that can create a local content for manufacturing solar home products in country. And we found that a few private sector participants have already started accessing those funds to be able to assemble solar home systems and components of solar mini grids in country. So we believe it's very, very achievable during the time, or at least of this administration.
You've signed a deal on partnership with the NNPC. What will that bring to the table? How quickly would that be able to help? Because the NNPC has deep pockets.
Yes, that is currently awaiting board approval, but that is a facility for a guarantee for 22 billion, and we look to get over 200,000 connections with that as well. In addition to that, I was fortunate enough today to attend a meeting with the Northeast Development Commission, and some of these interventions are looking to see how we can continue to mitigate, some of the issues that we have had, to see how we can take development within the country, within every region in the country where we have some of our security-ridden issues that we have right now. So I think the NNPC, as we have it now, is going to be able to bring over 200,000 connections, including areas within the Northeast.
Okay, tell me, Managing Director, REA, about how the issue of on-grid and off-grid electricity options, is it sustainable in Nigeria? How do we achieve it? Whatever you are doing at the REA, how does it connect to the bigger, wider Ministry of Power, bringing power to Nigerians?
Yeah, so with the on-grid and off-grid conversation, as the federal government through various programs continue to improve on the on-grid space, we as REA look to complement that and see how we can go to the areas where within the mandate of REA, which is within less than 1 megawatt. So what we try to do is to see how we can complement the on-grid connections. But what we have found very interesting lately is that the technology has advanced in such a way that we are now able to do interconnected mini grids, where we partner with discos and developers in the tripartite agreement, where private developers come in, provide power as interconnected mini grids, which now feed into the discos infrastructure, and they jointly now provide power to their customers.
Tell me about the key challenges you're facing in your electricity agency. It looks like you are in bed with some of the big names, the central bank, the NNPC, so I'm not sure money is your problem. So what other key challenges do you have?
No, I think you can't run away from the funding issue just because of the magnitude of the issues that we have in terms of off-grid electrification. I don't know how often you drive around the country. You would realize that there are communities that we have been to that are completely off-grid. So in as much as we are trying to open up the space to bring in additional funding, if you look at the nature of the funding that we bring in, we bring in that funding to to encourage and stimulate the investments from private sector, because we know as government alone we are not able to attain to all the targets, electrification targets that we have in the country. And in addition to that, of course, that also requires the REA to interact with extremely learned, private sector participants, with the international development partners. So we continue to see how, as an agency, we are improving ourselves. We are ensuring that we have the capacity to have those engagements through the programs that we run, including the Rural Electrification Fund that we have, which is seeing how we can continue to complement that funding that we are getting from those stakeholders that we've mentioned. But yes, even though we do have that support, I assure you that we can have a lot more windows to increase that funding, so that we can get to the over 80 million or so unelectrified Nigerians in the country.
My final question, and a very quick one: how cheap or affordable is this form of electricity coming to these rural Nigerians in rural locations across the country?
Yes, we believe they are affordable. From what we have seen, you are talking about an average of maybe 1,000 naira, 2,000 naira per month. So with that, we feel like with what we've seen so far, the rural dwellers are able to pay those sort of tariffs, or those sort of monthly charges. And the good thing is that what we've encouraged private developers to also do is to ensure that this electricity is just being charged as you use them. So, for example, within rural areas, what you find is that it will be difficult for maybe a rural community or a rural household to require more than a television or a fan or a radio, as opposed to in an urban community where you have air conditioners and big systems like huge television. So you can find that the consumption within rural areas is extremely low, which means relatively it becomes very, very affordable for them to both pay for the electricity and eventually own the systems that have been deployed within those households.
We thank you very much for your time, AHMAD SALIHIJO, Managing Director at Nigeria's Rural Electrification Agency, and we wish you all the best. Thank you so much, and see you next time.